First from Joyce. Swung on, line down the right field line, softly base hit. Broderick around third after DeBrule scores, and the rookie walks him off. Caulfield comes through.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Crank it, Jerry.
Welcome to Into the Wild, the official podcast of the Washington Wild Pigs.
What do you hear? What do you say?
It's the best sports podcast in the world. Wait, is that true?
If you're committed enough, you can make any story. I once convinced a woman that I was Kevin Costner, and it worked because I believed it.
Now, here's your host, Kyle Dawson.
Did you get the popcorn?
Another hearty good morning, afternoon, or evening to you, and welcome to Into the Wild, the official podcast of the Washington Wild Things, proud member of the Frontier League, the longest running and biggest professional independent baseball league in the United States, and also an official Major League Baseball partner league. My name is Kyle Dawson, Vice President of Baseball Operations and play-by-play voice of the Wild Things. If you missed episode 1 featuring Kent Colby, our very first and only Director of Baseball Operations and 1979 World Series champion with the Pittsburgh Pirates, you can always go back and listen to that episode or watch on our podcast platforms, which will be the case going forward for all of our past episodes. And you can pretty much find us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart Podcasts, and you can watch on YouTube. And be sure to subscribe/follow, leave a rating and a review, and tell your friends. They're missing out. Where are they? We've got a good one for you today. Today's show will include a bit of who we are, as I'll be joined by President and General Manager Tony Bustilli, as well as Vice President of Entertainment and Community Relations Stephanie Keller, for a segment, a little bit of an introduction on us, plus a this or that and would you rather section. We will also talk news and notes of the various things going on in and around the Wild Things organization, and we will be joined by former Washington Wild Things infielder, current Atlanta Braves farmhand, and man of World Baseball Classic, Great Britain, and Adelaide Giants fame, Nick Ward. So for now, sit back, and after a few words from public address voice Benny Canan, we go into the Wild.
The Wild Things are looking for host families for the 2024 season. Host families welcome a player or players into their home for the season while the player chases their dreams. Hosting a player can provide a great experience for the empty nester or the growing family by putting a role model and professional baseball player in a home with children. Host families enjoy numerous benefits, including free tickets to games, an end-of-season on-field ceremony with gifts, and the opportunity to take part in a meet-the-team picnic before the season begins. For more information, visit WashingtonWildThings.com or call Vice President of Baseball Operations Kyle Dawson at 724-250-7654 to learn more about our host family program today. Wild Things Park and Wild Things Games are the perfect places to host your company outing, party, family get-together, birthday party, and more. Check out the Goosebumps Smart Tech and Solar Solutions Suite Level, the EQT Pavilion, and the Pepsi Party Deck, and hit a home run for your outing or party. Bring between 10 and 80 people to one of our luxury suites, 30 to 80 people on the party deck, or 20 to 300 people in the pavilion. Food and beverage options, including buffet-style packages, are available. Call our front office for more information at 866-456-WILD. That's 866-456-WILD.
Welcome back to Into the Wild, the official podcast of the Washington Wild Things. Big thanks to Benny Canan for putting some of that stuff together for us, the ads for what we're doing at the Washington Wild Things, and we'll have him on at some point as well as a guest. At this time, joined by Tony Bustilli, the President and General Manager of the organization, as well as Stephanie, who you've heard from, the Vice President of Entertainment and Community Relations, as well as me, Kyle Dawson. Now, we wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction as to, well, who the heck we are. And then we will get into a little bit of fun and have a little fun with this or that and kind of would you rather questions. And Tony only knows one of them. He didn't want to be spoiled, so he only knows one. We'll start with the man in charge. Tony, to kind of give people a background of who you are, what got you to Washington, and when your tenure here.
Long story, but I'll try to sum it up quick.
I've been with Washington since 2012 as an intern, and previously was working in pharmacy, and my undergrad is in pharmacy, my master's in sports management at IUP, and been in sports, been in baseball, originally from outside the Monroeville, Murraysville area. Went to school at Franklin Regional, and been in baseball the way through, transitioned back with Washington in 2012, and spent 2 years here before I worked for the Texas Rangers in their baseball operations department. Came back full-time in 2015 and been here ever since. And my role has kind of morphed over the years, depending on needs and organizational focuses. And now I guess I'm the master of chaos now. So,
Stephanie?
My story is a little bit shorter. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio. I kind of got started in radio, and then I was an intern in 21, and I got hired on full time to be a part and run the street team, which is all of the in-game and promotions. And so now I run the whole show that is not baseball.
This is good. So I guess I'll get into myself now. So a little bit, I'll keep it short too. And you're going to learn a lot more about us as we go on throughout the podcasts run here on our podcast platforms on Into the Wild. But I grew up in Plum, Pennsylvania, so right near where Tony lived in Murraysville and Franklin Regional. Graduated from Plum in 2013, ended up at Waynesburg University, graduated there in 2017 with a degree in communications, sports broadcasting and information. Had a minor in journalism and pretty much have been here my entire professional life. 2015, I was a scorer and did some work on the scoreboard, which has seen its better days, obviously, but it worked most of the time when I was doing the scoreboard in 15. Then I took on a role as the on-field MC in 2016 as an intern. I was back here in 2017 full time and have done kind of like Tony, a variety of different things from media and kind of what Stephanie's doing with in-game entertainment and the social media to media relations to broadcasting since 2018. In the booth and ticket sales, sponsorship sales, you name it, pretty much everyone here does it. So that's kind of my long story short as we get in and trying to make sure that we can humanize us a little bit. Obviously, the players that we have that will be on our coaching staff, other people in our front office that will eventually be on the show, trying to make it so that you know a little bit more about us than just the fact that we work at the Washington Wild Things. So that's our goal as part of this with the podcast. So we wanted to have a little bit of fun before we talk to Nick Ward today and before we get you some news and notes as to what's going on. This is our this or that segment, or our would you rather segment, if you will. I'm just going to rapid fire and we'll go around the table like we just did, Tony, Stephanie, and myself, and basically say the first thing that comes to mind or answer the question. And hopefully that bounces off a little bit of more fun discussion. I think we have three interesting personalities on the show right now to try and break down a little bit. So the first one, and again, we'll go Tony, Stephanie, Kyle, just so the three of us have it all together. The last movie you saw.
Oh, geez. In the theater in general?
Either.
Oh, I couldn't even name the last movie in a theater. Actually, I rewatched Endgame yesterday, like the last hour and a half. I don't know why. It was just on. And it's something that I tell Stephanie because she's big into Marvel and all that stuff. I can't tell the difference between or the order of any of that stuff. So anytime one of it's on, I just I don't know what's going to happen. So I get surprised all over again with the ending or who gets killed or who's the villain. So Endgame yesterday at 5:00 in the afternoon. Great.
The last movie I saw in theaters was Mean Girls, the musical. I think I actually watched the Marvels last at home. So going off of that Marvel theme there.
I honestly, I wrote this question down earlier and I have absolutely no idea what the last actual movie I watched was. I know the last one I saw in theaters was the Wonka movie, the new one, at the theater in Bridgeville. Saw that a couple times. I've probably watched more movie clips on TikTok than I actually have watched movies in general. I honestly don't know what the last one that came across the TV was. I'm into TV shows right now, trying to go through those. What?
We've already been over this. I bring up. I mean, I'm good in the office of mentioning movies from the '90s that half of you or three-quarters of you haven't seen, and I'm like, I get upset when people haven't seen like staple movies that, I mean, it wasn't in your wheelhouse or whatever. I know I get frustrated on those and Stephanie's really good at them too, of not knowing.
Not one staple of movies is your staple of movies.
Yeah.
That's not the way it is.
I think the last one I might have seen on TV was Happy Gilmore, now that I think of it. Because the one channel has all the Adam Sandler movies all the time on weekends. I saw Billy Madison recently. Tony's a big Happy Gilmore and Adam Sandler guy. So yeah, I know I've seen those recently. Okay, next question. This is a little bit easier than favorite one. Your top 3 movies off the top of your head. First 3 things that come to your mind.
Well, I always divvy. My answer is this is a normal answer for me. So there's tops on each side. Top funny movie, I'm always going to give Billy Madison. It's always going to be up there. And the top, I'm just going to avoid your top 3 question. My top serious movie or like non-humor, Pulp Fiction. And that's a movie that Stephanie has not seen because I've mentioned it before. So those are my top 1 on each side for multiple different reasons. But I don't think you can, at least my opinion, I don't think you can rank serious movies and humor movies and try to line them up. I think they need to be split apart into totally different segments.
I don't know. I'm so bad at this. My older movie that I watch all the time is probably Pretty in Pink, like 80s movie. That's one of my favorite older movies. And then, I don't know, I also go for Pride and Prejudice a lot. It's a big comfort movie for me.
Okay. Happy Gilmore, I mentioned earlier. That's probably my favorite movie of all time. Pretty much any Adam Sandler movie it can be put on that list. Other ones, let's see. Star Wars Episode 3. That's the best one. If you're a Star Wars fan and you don't think 3 is the best one, you're wrong. And it's okay that you were born before 1980, and that's why you think that the 5th one is the best. Episode 3 is the best. I don't know if I could name a third one. I think I'm kind of in the same mold as Tony, where it'd be tough for me to rank comedy and whatever, serious, horror, whatever, as in terms of a top 3. I mean, those are the first 2 that come to mind, at least. I go Billy Madison.
I'd throw a third in there. I'll do it. I'll make it a tough decision, but I'll throw Goodfellas number 3 for me.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know. I really don't know what the third one for me would be. I'm just going to stop. I'm going to stop attempting to think of one. 3. I know Tony's a big Succession guy, so I'm sure this is going to be in there. But 3 favorite TV shows.
Oh, come on. Series. So I'm not a big series guy, so mine are going to be very basic and boring. Succession, Sopranos, and a third one that I binge watch like that. I'll go Boardwalk Empire. So I'm gonna go all HBO, Boardwalk Empire, Succession, Sopranos.
I feel like your favorites are your kind of like your comfort ones in a way. So I usually go for like Gilmore Girls, or I like my Marvel DC, so The Flash. And then kind of like a comedy series is probably New Girl.
Okay. Breaking Bad, in my opinion, the best one ever. Tony, I know either won't watch it or disagrees. The Sopranos would be 2, and I think it's right now probably The West Wing 3. Now that could change on any given day, and anything are interchangeable with like Stranger Things, Better Call Saul. I don't even know what else. The Wire is a great one. I haven't watched Succession. Tony's been trying to get me to watch Succession for years, but I refuse.
It's branching off that then real quick. Who of all of your top 3 who's the number 1 character of all your top 6? Because obviously I'm going to go Tony Soprano, as the key figure of my top three. He's the top character. So if you're gonna go, you have what's Breaking Bad.
It's probably Walt from Breaking Bad, Walter White, or Tony's great from The Sopranos. I'm a big fan of a lot of the Sopranos characters, so that's pretty much a tie for me when it comes to that show. And obviously, big Jed Bartlett in The West Wing, or Josh Lyman, who's a good character. A bunch of Matt Santos is in there. He's played by Jimmy Smits. A lot of good characters in that show, and I could go on and on about characters though.
Probably Jess from New Girl. I get compared to her a lot because she's quirky and excited about everything.
the exact way that everyone knows that Stephanie is on a game day at the ballpark. Perky and the big cheerleader. Current or the last TV show that you binged?
Oh, jeez. Maybe I don't really binge like that. I think I binged the Stranger Things when it came out, but that was like 2 years ago, wasn't it?
That was in 2022. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's probably the last time I binged like all the way through like that was Stranger Things when it came out.
Didn't you binge something on the flight to Las Vegas?
Oh yeah, I did. I binged the spin-off of the superhero. What is that binge called?
He's got to look it up.
I'm gonna Google it as we do. Of what it was. It was a binge off The Boys. It was a spin-off. I don't think you've seen it, but The Boys is kind of a superhero edgy series, and there was a spin-off of it that I'm going to Google while you go around. So go ahead.
I've been kind of binging too. I've been binge watching Young Sheldon because it came out on Netflix, and then also Psych. I don't know if you guys have heard of Psych. It's like
Psych's good. Dule Hill.
Yeah, I love Psych. Yes.
I think the last one that I completed was Suits, and I think that was like the big popular one recently.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I'm currently on, and Travis Pettit, our other guy in the front office, senior VP, he has never seen The Sopranos, so I've got him working through that right now, and we're in season 5. So that's the last one. I don't know if Tony found his show yet on Google.
Gen V, it's a spinoff off The Boys. It's kind of like another angle of it. So watch that. Pretty good. I mean, it's edgy, it's funny, it's my type of humor. It's a whole combination of nonsense.
The last song that you listened to.
Oh, geez. I'm gonna just easily say Ticks because it's on Spotify and maybe I listened to it last, probably.
Like on my like music?
Yes.
Ooh. What was it?
I've had the Dawson Bangers playlist on Spotify going all morning here. So the last one that is on shuffle is Fire Burning by Sean Kingston. So I guess that's my answer.
You played Green Day earlier, and
I did. I played Green Day came on earlier. I've heard Jet Airliner twice today. So
my last one was Way Less Sad by AJR.
I can't say I've ever heard of that. Would it belong on the Dawson Bangers playlist is the question. Walk into a room. Every time you walk into a room, a song plays. That means when you walk into Tony's office, a song plays. You walk out of Tony's office and into the sales office, the song plays. So it has to be a song that you would never get sick of hearing for at least a couple of seconds, literally every time you walk into a room.
Easy. So I would go the song that we play it all the time at the stadium. It's actually played now for the Blaze Batter, the Luna Mezzamare, the Italian song.
I'm not gonna lie, the first one that popped in my head was Crab Rave.
That fits Stephanie perfectly for anybody.
I was like, I'll just walk into every room doing the Crab Rave.
I have absolutely no idea. I think Alex Boshiers asked this on one of the Bosch.0 episodes that we did where he asked these kind of questions. And I have absolutely no idea what I would want my song to be, because I could pick a song that I like, but then it would just get super annoying. I feel like toward the end, it would get annoying by the end of the day. That said, I guess I'll just go with the one that's on the website as my walkout song, which is just Cult of Personality. I guess I'd just take that riff at the beginning every time I walked into a room and be fine with it. All right, so let's do some of the would you rathers. The first one is, would you rather be stuck in a phone box or a phone booth, which nobody knows what they are anymore, but a phone booth with 10 snakes or 10 tarantulas?
Neither bother me, so I'd probably say tarantulas.
I would do snakes. There's no shot I could even get into a room with a tarantula.
I'm exactly the opposite. I am probably shouldn't admit this over the airways, but I'm deathly afraid of snakes. I hate them. Now we do have those little snakes, the rubber snakes in the office that are just hanging around somewhere. I think Tony might have it. Tony's got one right there. I can't stand snakes, so I'm easily just stepping on all the tarantulas and killing them. Then I don't have to deal with the snakes in the phone booth because I couldn't do it. I'd burn the phone booth down if there were snakes inside there. All right. Would you rather live in a world where it constantly snows or constantly rains?
Oh, geez. Constantly rains. Constantly snows I'd be miserable.
See, I would do snows. Constantly snows, because I hate rain because it's just wet and there's puddles. At least snow's pretty to look at, and it's kind of magical sometimes.
I'm going with rain too, but under the caveat that if there was a caveat that the roads were fine and you could just drive in it and have no problem, I would probably say snow.
People drive just as bad in the rain, though.
That is true, though. That is true.
Just the idea of shoveling constant snow to me.
Yeah, brutal. But I hate rain too. So there's that. But it doesn't rain in Washington.
No.
So
we have the
eighth wonder of the world. The hill from the Wheeling area.
Yeah.
Would you rather be someone who compulsively laughs during sad moments or cries whenever someone makes a joke?
So that's pretty much saying, would I rather be Stephanie or Sean? I would say we would rather cry when someone tells a joke. Yeah.
I already live that. I compulsively laugh in every situation. So I would pick the laugh one because I'm fine with it. I laugh in uncomfortable
I'm
situations all
definitely
the time.
picking the crying. The crying is no question for me because you're just going to have an incredibly sad moment and just start laughing. And I just find that to be kind of hilarious, to be honest. But at the same time, it would be pretty brutal. You just did a funeral and you just can't stop laughing or whatever the sad situation is.
Not gonna lie, I've been there. Everybody's uncomfortable and I just started giggling.
Okay, I've got two more for now, and then again we'll probably do this at some other point too, and we'll ask Nick some of these later. Would you rather give up showering for a month or give up the internet for a month?
Internet for a month, no doubt.
Give up showering for a month or internet?
Or the internet for a month?
I think internet. I don't know. That's hard though.
I think there's no way that any of us would live with it. There's no way. Tony saying internet is crazy.
No.
This guy sits in this office and refreshes Twitter 18 times in 1 second. And you're telling me you could live without the internet for a month over living without showering for a month? No shot.
Now, if you told me no TV for a month or no shower, different story. I'd probably go crazy without TV on a regular basis. Internet I could do without. I could easily unplug and be away from it, but I'd probably give up. If you told me TV or shower, I would say get rid of the shower. I need my TV.
I think it's easily the showering for me. And
I feel like it is
know I
shower.
couldn't get through a month
Thinking about it.
Like
I
I
feel like
know
it is
I would feel gross on day 2, but like there's no way I can get through a month without internet.
I could.
You couldn't.
I would like to think I could, but I don't think I could realistically.
Okay. last one, and then we will talk to Nick Ward here on Into the Wild. Would you rather have to battle one bear-sized duck or 10 duck-sized bears?
You're going to be better suited for the bear-sized duck. Now, some people are afraid of birds probably or won't take that on, but 10 bear-sized or 10 duck-sized bears, their strength is going to easily overpower you. There's no. That should be an easy. That should be the easiest answer of all.
But like ducks are so tiny, so there's only like
the
10 of
bear-sized duck can fly.
Oh.
Okay.
What? I think a duck-sized bear is like yay big.
Yeah, they're like little.
And they got claws and they got teeth. What does the duck have? Like the foot of a duck, even as a bear size, is not going to stomp on you. You got
10 cats. Think of it like that.
Yeah, strong cats.
Strong cats.
Strong.
I think the 10 duck-sized bears.
Yeah, I think I'm.
Just make friends
I'm on
with
the
them
duck
all,
side
and then
there.
they'll all love you.
Make friends with that's another typical Stephanie answer right there. Make friends with the duck-sized bears.
Yeah, you don't have to battle them.
I don't know what I would do. I'm leaning to the side of 10 duck-sized bears, but I also can hear the argument of just having to deal with one thing over 10.
One thing.
Like, that could just be complicated.
Like you said, the wings.
Yeah, I think it flying could be a problem. And then it's just going to peck at you.
Imagine if you took down that bear-sized duck, and you'd be eating some top end hen wings for about.
Oh boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy. Good point.
You can move those hens to some cages, and you can.
That doesn't entice me. So.
Yeah. Stephanie's not a big. Oh, I forgot one. Biggest pet peeve.
Oh,
That's the one Tony knew.
That is the one I knew, and I didn't even prepare. There's a lot. I'm gonna go slow. I'm gonna go the easiest one that's universal. Slow drivers. For you guys have all ridden in a car with me. When people drive slow in front of me, I'm a big cruise control guy. So I set it and I just go. And when people stand in front of me and they're going slower than the speed limit or the speed limit, when I'm going like 10 mile an hour over, I have very little patience. I just want to.
Mine is loud eating. It's gross, and I hate the sound of it.
I don't really know that it's a pet peeve, but we talk about this all the time in the office. People who heat up or don't heat up certain foods, it just appalls me. Like eating cold pizza is gross. Eating
disgusting.
Cold chicken wings is gross. Heating up lettuce is gross.
Stop, I'm gonna be sick.
These are all things we talk about that stuff all the time in here when someone either doesn't heat up or heats something up. I don't know. So I don't know if it's
those are all things that have happened, by the way.
Yo, yeah, 100%. 100%. Travis, I mentioned Travis earlier. He does cold wings and cold pizza, and I find that appalling.
I do cold pot. I do so much cold you guys would probably hate. I don't do heat up lettuce, but like cold pot, any cold meat, it's completely fine with me. Microwave, I'm not a big microwave guy, so I'd rather eat it cold than throw something in the microwave, and the texture and the sogginess of it afterwards is not the same.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that. We're going to do that a little bit more often here on the podcast. But for now, we will take another quick break. And when we return, we've got former Wild Thing, Atlanta Braves farmhand, Great Britain star in the World Baseball Classic, all kinds of things, including Team Adelaide, the Adelaide Giants over in the ABL champion back-to-back. Nick Ward is next on Into the Wild.
Are you planning a group outing with your friends, coworkers, or family members? A Wild Things game is an affordable and entertaining way to knock your next outing out of the park. Group rates for 10 or more tickets start at just $10 per ticket, with group accommodations of 10 to 3,200 people. Call our front office for more information at 866-456-WILD. or go to WashingtonWildThings.com for more information.
Back on Into the Wild, and as promised, I don't know that this man, at least for the recent Wild Things fan, needs much of an introduction. Former Wild Thing turned now Atlanta Brave farmhand with the LA Giants, which we'll talk about. Great Britain in the World Baseball Classic, I'm sure we'll hit on. Nick Ward is our guest on episode 2 of Into the Wild, the official podcast of the Washington Wild Things. Nick, appreciate you jumping on. Has to be exciting for us. I imagine it's exciting for you to be able to talk to the Wild Things faithful again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I spent 2+ years with that little modified summer over COVID. So nothing but good things. Nothing but good memories I have from Washington. So it's nice to see the Washington Wild Things logo again and see some familiar faces.
We will we'll get into next time in Washington. I want to go really, really broad with you to start, Nick. Kind of talk a little bit about how you fell in love with the game and the early formative years of Nick Ward over in the east side of the state.
Yeah, so my dad was the biggest reason that I fell in love with baseball. So up until probably 2 years ago, maybe less than that, my dad had played baseball, and my dad will be 64 in June. So I grew up going to his games, and I was the bat boy running around the dugout when I was little, sliding all over the place, giving mom and dad some dirty white baseball pants with elastic around the waist to wash after dad's game. And I just wanted to be like my dad, getting to play baseball at nighttime and just play with my buddies. And then, then 8 years later, here we are.
You had a successful high school career. I don't think we need to touch too much into that, but you spent some time at VCU. Obviously, the real good success in college came at Westchester.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that run at college and winning a national title.
Yeah, so I initially went to VCU out of high school. I was like most kids. I had the dream of playing Division I baseball, and I got the opportunity to do that. And I learned a ton when I was there. I got to learn from a guy who ended up playing in the major leagues, VMIL Machine. So I learned a ton from him, just getting to watch him play every day. Like you said, I didn't play a whole lot, but the team ended up going to a super regional. So that was a pretty cool experience, even though I didn't really get to see too much time on the field. And then made a decision to transfer to Westchester, kind of right where I grew up, and it was great. We had a really great group of guys, and we were lucky enough to win quite a few games when I was there, and we won a national championship in 2017. So I think without that first year when I was at VCU, kind of sitting on the bench and learning a lot, I don't think a lot of the success that I had personally comes to fruition and actually happens. So that first year was pretty big.
Yeah, every kid growing up, and you be no different in this case, that they grow up playing professional baseball.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously had that dream realized. You got drafted in the 34th round. What do you remember about draft day in 2018 and then off into the Oakland organization?
I remember it being really, really, really stressful. And that was pretty self-inflicted, I would say. So I actually had an internship with NASDAQ that summer because I didn't know if I was going to be drafted or not. And the first day of the draft was a Monday. And I was actually in Times Square at my internship orientation on the first day of the draft. And then I requested the next 2 days off just in case I were to be picked, and I wanted to be around my family and be at home when that would happen. So luckily my bosses gave me those 2 days off and were pretty nice about it. And then probably about 5:30 on Wednesday, I think it was June 6th in 2018, I finally got a call in the 34th round, and all of my stress and anxiety was replaced by mom screaming and crying. So, and that was pretty cool. And then that was an awesome moment for sure. That was a dream that I'm sure every little kid has, is to hear their name called on draft day, and I was lucky enough to have that come true.
Talk a little bit about your time in the Oakland organization. Obviously, that leads up right to Washington, but a couple seasons in the athletics organization, which maybe wasn't, and we've talked about this, you and I, before, maybe wasn't the greatest of a couple of seasons, but obviously you've turned it around since. But that beginning had to be a little bit of a learning curve too.
Without a doubt. I think like kind of similar to my freshman year of college, where if I didn't have those the first, I guess, year and a half with Oakland, that first like short season, and then the full season in 2019, I don't think any of the success that I've had later on happens. I learned a lot about myself, how to handle being a professional and balancing off the field issues, and while still trying to play every single day. So I learned a lot of lessons the hard way, but that's not necessarily a bad thing in the long term. So yeah, I might not have had the success that I envisioned having right when I got into pro ball, but that's sometimes okay. So I think I'll always be grateful to the athletics organization for giving me that first opportunity to be a professional and hearing my name called on draft day and all those things. So I'll always have a little soft spot for them for that. So
that'll lead us right in here. So you mentioned the COVID pod earlier. Got to play for the Steel City Slam and Sammies. That was an interesting group, an interesting summer. Talk a little bit about that summer. I mean, that's obviously super weird. Lockdown. You guys are sharing a couple apartments over in town.
Yeah.
And a little bit of baseball, and then really nothing after that. It was a weird summer.
Well, it was weird for everybody, not just baseball players, right? Like we were supposed to be on lockdown, and like we have no idea. Like I had signed with the Wild Things a few days after I had gotten released, and Tony was basically just like, hey, like wait for a call because we could be 2 weeks away from starting our season at any moment. So I was just patiently waiting, and then like you and Tony had reached out and said, hey, we're going to do this little pod league because the Frontier League season has been officially canceled. And I was like, sure, I'm not doing anything else. So let's go play some baseball, right? Like nobody is really playing all over the country. And then if I get to still play some baseball for however long, let's do it. So get out there. And I was expecting to be a Wild Thing. And someone tells me that I'm on a team called the Steel City Slam and Sammies. And I was like, I mean, I knew Pittsburgh had some good sandwiches, but to put it on a uniform, I was like, all right, but that was fine. And the group of guys that we had, we were Wild Things and the Slam and Sammies. That was an interesting group of characters, to say the very least, but it was so much fun. And like that initial experience was like, wow, this is pretty cool, especially the returning guys that were on the Wild Things, where they talked up how cool it was to play for the Wild Things and just be in and around Washington. So I was really excited for that next year when hopefully COVID was not going to be a huge thing anymore.
And it wasn't. Obviously, you came in, you had a good, successful first season, quote unquote, is a Wild Thing.
Yeah.
In the Frontier League, you started the year hurt, came back, and obviously maybe 2021 wasn't as good as 2022, which we'll get to. But that first season, real good for you. You also, and I want people to know, Nick, we talk about him all the time as being an ambassador of the Wild Things. You won the Citizenship Award in 2021. A little bit about that, discuss that, and kind of what your whole mentality, I guess, in Washington was. Because some people come, and we talked about this with Teak. Nick knows some people come here and it's the affiliated ball guy coming into independent ball, and they don't really get it. Other guys like Nick or whoever have immersed themselves into communities and been a part of the fan base, gotten to know people and cared about what we do at independent baseball level and the minor league level. So that 2021 season, I think, was pretty rewarding in a couple different ways.
Without a doubt. I think I was lucky enough when I was at Westchester, we had a pretty tight-knit group, like of not just players, but the families that supported us and the fans that came around and the supporting communities around. So that I got a little bit of a taste of what it was like to not only be a player for your school, but to represent something that's bigger than yourself, and leaving something better than you found it. And when I went to affiliated ball, that wasn't necessarily the case, right? Because it's more like individualized, and you're like, sometimes you get to interact with the surrounding communities, and the opportunities don't present themselves as often. And you might be able to get to interact with fans every now and then, but your job, you're pretty hyper focused on your job when you're in affiliated ball, and that's kind of what they're after. So in some cases, I should say. And when I got to Washington, I had this feeling that in and around the organization, it felt like a family, and like you guys had opened your arms to me like immediately. And so all I wanted to do was just be a part of that. And especially when I had talked to Tom about the only thing that really mattered to us was winning the game. And that was a big part of it too, where it's like, I just wanted to win and do my part to help the organization be successful. But part of that is making the fans feel welcome at the ballpark as well. And even like at a road stadium, chatting to somebody in the on deck circle is something that is so easy to do, that, and not a lot of people have the ability to kind of like step out of, I guess, their hyper focus, and just like kind of make those people feel like they're part of the action in a good way, I should say. And that's something that I love to do, is like all the people that are around the on deck circle, they're talking to you anyway. You might as well just turn around and say something nice to them, even if they're not saying anything nice to you. So I like interacting with the fans, and at least to some degree, and kind of furthering that family feel that I felt when I first showed up.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I've said this to Nick's face before, so I don't have any qualms about saying it on this platform. We got emails 2021, and not just about Nick. There were other players on the team. That group was a pretty special group going into 2022 too. We got emails when we were on the road, and fans just email the info at Washington Wild Things and say, "Hey, your players autographed the ball and sent it through at the on deck circle, and my kid, best time of his life, and he's a Wild Things fan now because of the interaction with Nick or the interaction with whoever." And that's, I always talk about, Nick's talking about exactly that. That is it in independent baseball. That is the kind of moment that you kind of live for. Baseball aside, obviously we all want to win, but those kind of moments are really what makes this a lot different than minor league baseball.
Without a doubt. I think especially in a lot of these towns and communities, that like this is their sports team, right? And like Washington has Pittsburgh just a few miles up the road, but a lot of these, like you think about like a town like Evansville, Indiana, right? They don't have too much surrounding that town besides the Otters, right? And you can think of a bunch of different other teams where these indie ball teams are essentially the main source of professional sports for these fans. And while it's not the experience of a Major League Baseball game or an NFL football game where amongst 40,000 people, you might be amongst 2,000. So it feels like that small knit community. And sometimes the fans are right on top of you. You can hear everyone breathing, sneezing, whatever. So yeah, it does feel like that family feel. And, like I said, like you always want to leave something better than you found it. And like growing the game is part of that. And if I was able to make someone's day by just like saying hi, or like shaking someone's hand, or signing a baseball and throwing it to them, or telling them I liked their hat, or something that's so small. It's like, wow, like he's out there doing that, but he noticed me. He took the time to say hi. And like people are not going to really remember too much about what I did on the field probably, but they're going to remember how I made them feel. So that's something that like I I truly believe in, and that I don't really care if I make it to the big leagues or not. I mean, I do, but at the end of the day, like I really just care about trying to be the best person I can be every day and making people feel the way that I would like to feel.
You say, and I'm going to let Stephanie jump in here in a second, but you say you don't really didn't really mind what happened on the field, but on the field it was pretty damn good here in Washington, right? There's an 80-point batting average jump. There's all the home runs, including first pitch of the year in 2022 and a 20th anniversary home opener. Drove in 60 that year. I mean, that's, if not for an injury late in the season, I think we're talking about a lot better of a year, maybe an MVP candidate year, and you won a postseason All-Star award that year, and quite the insane 2022 and even 21 too for the team and for you.
Yeah. Well, at the end of 2021, I also had a pretty big injury as well. That when I came back, I think Tom had told me in spring training of 2022 that I went like 3 for 50 or something like horrendous at the end of the year after I came back. And so going into 2022, especially coming up one game short in the finals to Schaumburg, I really wanted to like redeem myself for the way that I finished personally. Plus, like I was thinking, like I didn't really know how much longer I wanted to play professional baseball. So I was just like, all right, whatever happens, happens. Let's just leave it all out there on the field. Just play your heart out every day. Give your team everything you got. Try and like do your best to be 1/9 of the equation and win, and just help the team win the game. And 2022, I think I did a pretty good job of that every single day. Numbers aside, I think I contributed quite a bit.
I would say so. Stephanie?
Going back to kind of like making it memorable for the fans, did you have an experience that kind of helped you grow into that belief, like with a baseball player interacting with you when you were younger, besides your dad? Or do you have like a certain memory that kind of created that belief for you, that moment where you just kind of hand them the baseball when that makes their day and they remember that for their life?
I never had a moment like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was never the confrontational kid, like pushing to get to the railing to get my favorite player's autograph as much as I wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
I was never like that kid, or like waving down somebody to throw me a ball. I don't think I was ever like that. So I don't know if I had like one experience,
Mm-hmm.
but I would see, like, I think the first time I was playing affiliated ball, not like in rookie ball at the spring training complex where they actually had fans. I think the first time I ever like signed an autograph for somebody, or I was giving lessons in the off season, they say, "Oh, you're this person, like you just got drafted." I was like, "Yeah." Like I didn't see myself as a super. I just kind of saw myself as a normal guy with a cool job. But I signed a baseball for like a young kid and gave it to him, and it like made his day. And he like ran sprinting back into his mom's arms, and like gave her a big hug, and he was so happy. And I was like, wow, like this feels good. This feels really good on my end, selfishly, to give that little boy or girl like so much joy. I was like, wow, like that. I just like chased that feeling selfishly for me, but it's like there's no unselfish good deed, right? So I'd like that feels really good for me to make that child or young person, or just person in general, feel that way, because they value my signature when it feels like my signature is not worth anything. But if I can make them feel that way, that's pretty cool for me.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite moment at the Wild Things like that, where you felt like you really were a part of the community after being here for a couple seasons? Or did you have that moment that you were like, I am in this community and that I'm a part of it?
I think when if there was one moment, it was probably the game that I came back after getting hit in the hand in 2022. And I was leading off the game, and it felt like I had gotten like a little bit of like an ovation, because like all the fans that normally sit down the right field line, like the Salisburys, the Andersons, everybody were just like, they stood up and just started like cheering my name, and it felt like, wow, this is cool. And then that same game, I got my 100th hit of the year, and like, and Kyle came over the loudspeaker and said like, that's Nick Ward's 100th hit of the year. Like it was really cool, and like I got like a warm fuzzy feeling. I was like, wow, this is cool. But obviously that was at the end of my 2 seasons officially as a Wild Thing. So there was a lot of other moments that made me feel like that. Probably little ones like walking down to the dugout and seeing the regulars that are in their normal seats and chatting with them every day. And I didn't need the big moment like that to feel like a part of a huge family, but I think that moment was like the culmination of it all.
Yeah. I actually remember that. When you said it, it kind of like made me remember that moment when you came back and everybody started just cheering for you, and everybody kind of welcomed you back after being hurt.
That was a cool moment, especially since they were bugging me, wondering when I was going to be.
Yes.
I was like, just please stop asking me that. If I knew, I would tell you, but I have no idea.
Yes, and people still ask about you to this day because I'm out in the community and stuff, so they still keep asking, and you're still a part of it, even though you've been gone for a little bit.
Well, I talked up Washington quite a bit to one of your newest signees, who I was a teammate with in Australia. So, and he's pretty excited to get there and play. So, I'm excited for him too.
Let's jump up to, you got picked up. Actually, we announced your extension like a week before the Phillies calling. Yeah. And then the Phillies come calling, and that's obviously got to be a really super cool moment for you. That's your hometown team, to be able to go and to play in that organization after a winter in Australia, which I want to get to as well. But playing for them had to be a dream come true.
Without a doubt. I grew up a huge Phillies fan. Like my dad and I, over the summers, even on school nights when I was little, we would sit like shoulder to shoulder and watch every single Phillies game. And we would watch it until the last pitch. And I was like, I even when the Phillies were awful for quite a while during my early childhood, when I was just figuring out what baseball was, the Phillies didn't make the playoffs till 2006, I think so. In between like 1993 and 2006, they didn't make the playoffs. So all I knew was Phillies baseball and Phillies like not being very good. And then like obviously when I really knew what baseball was and started to play competitively, that's when the Phillies were like in the World Series and went to back-to-back World Series and won one of them. And I fantasized about being a Philly, and then to actually hear that, like have that call come in and be like, hey, the Phillies are going to buy your contract. And I was like, you're kidding. Like I said a few not so family friendly words in excitement. Right. So I'm so excited. I'm jumping around, and it's like 8:30 in the morning, and when I'm in Australia, and my agent calls me and tells me that, and like I immediately FaceTime my dad, and he's already wearing a Philly sweatshirt. I was like, well, this is kind of crazy. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a Philly, and like, holy cow. And then and literally just like a week and a half, 2 weeks before, you guys had posted that I was coming back for the 2023 season, and I was like, all right, got a contract, we're good to go. And then boom, I'm not going to be there anymore. So it was pretty it was a whirlwind of emotions, that's for sure.
Let's talk about Australia, and I want to talk about both baseball and Australia in general. Those guys in Adelaide have really taken, I think, just from what I follow, and I'm not psychotic, and psychotic is not the right word, but 3 or 4 in the morning just isn't my time. I can't do it. But
unless you're still up.
This is true. This is true. But they seem to have taken a big liking to you, and obviously the success of last year, and then going into this year and having another championship season. Talking just a little bit about what Adelaide has meant to your career and those couple of seasons out there, which seems like a crazy atmosphere in Adelaide.
It is. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. So like what you guys try and do in Washington and promoting that family friendly culture and that inexpensive way to come enjoy a professional sporting event and get out of the house and like stuff the kids' face with cotton candy and ice cream and let them run around for a little bit, and then the parents enjoy a baseball game. Like that's exactly what it's like in Australia too. So especially in Adelaide. In Adelaide, like Australia as a whole, the baseball scene is growing. It's not nearly as large as it is in the US, of course. So having places like that where it truly does feel like a family affair, and all of the employees at the stadium, at least in Adelaide, are all volunteers. So they truly want to be there, and you see the same faces every single game. And it's like, this is one of the times that I don't mind that we have to walk through the crowd to get from our clubhouse to the dugout, because we actually get to interact with them quite a bit. And after the games, the fans and all the little kids are allowed to come on the field, and we sign autographs for them. And you can almost make out every single person's voice who's cheering for you while you're playing. And especially when it comes playoff time, the fans in Adelaide, they show out, and we got some really, really good crowds. So it's a lot of fun to play there and have that continuity with the community as well to go with it.
What's the food like in Australia? Better than here? Or your favorite bit out there? I'm just trying to get a little bit of the scoop from out there.
So it's definitely better for you.
Okay.
As soon as I come back, each time that I've come back, I have had some stomach issues from going from relatively healthy food or a higher standard of food, and then coming back here and having whatever's in our food. I have no idea. So the food in Australia is very good, and I lived right across the street from Chinatown in the city. So I spent quite a bit of money over in Chinatown on some pretty good food, but it was well worth it. So, but I mean, Australian food is kind of similar to ours.
You didn't get in any fights with any kangaroos over there, did you?
No, saw quite a few, but no one stole my dog, so I didn't have to beat him up.
What about the bugs? Are the bugs as bad as they say over there?
Kinda, yeah. There always seems to be a fly like right in your face, and it's even when it's windy or raining, they're always right in your face. So you just kind of have to accept it. They're just going to be there. Tough to do.
That's interesting.
I've seen some pretty big spiders and venomous snakes, and saw a spider.
I've heard. So
that would be about all I need, is to see one venomous snake, and I'm out of there. But
yeah, the snake. It wasn't very long either, but one bite that'll get you.
Oh God. I want to jump real quickly, and I want to ask you about Riley too. You mentioned him already, and we'll get to that in a second. World Baseball Classic. How epic was that as a guy growing up playing and dreaming of playing baseball and on that stage?
It's really hard to put that one into words. You know, baseball is always something that I've done for me because I loved it. I loved playing it. I like, you'd have to rip me off the field pretty much, but I actually got to represent my family and do something, like I said, that I love doing, is like representing something that's bigger than me. And I got to like pay homage to like the people who got me to this position. Like I wouldn't exist if my grandparents didn't pick up and move the family from England and move them to New York and then eventually to Pennsylvania. So getting to represent my mom's side of the family and play baseball with Great Britain across my chest, even though I was raised right in Philly, the irony's everywhere. It was it was so unbelievable. And then to like play against like the USA and like a perennial all-star team, and in front of 45,000 people to go with it, and on national television, that is that was the one of the coolest moments that I will remember forever. Next to hopefully my major league debut, that one was really, really cool.
What's the word with the Braves?
So, in what sense?
I guess you're signed with Atlanta now, so I don't
Yep.
know if you're in big league camp or what the entire situation is there right now.
So I'm in minor league mini camp right now.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I got here on February 16th, and the second day of workouts, I ended up getting hurt. So I've been rehabbing that injury for the last week and some change. So luckily, minor league camp doesn't start until, I guess, March 2nd or 3rd, excuse me. So I have a little, I'm not like wasting time, or I'm not behind the eight ball in any stretch of the imagination. It's just, if it's kind of one of those crappy things that happen, but if it was going to happen at all, I'd rather it happen when it did. So we still get to be around all the big league guys, and I've met Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna Jr. and like all the big name guys, and everyone's been great so far. It's been even though I have been laying on a training table for most of my time here, it's been really, really cool. So
talk about Briley Knight. What can fans here expect from him in his first year? It seems like we're getting another good guy, which is
that's
most
that's probably the best thing that I could say about him. And he is an unbelievable baseball player to go with it. But that he comes from a baseball family. His dad has been a baseball coach for a really long time. He knows how to play the game. He plays the game the right way. He plays it hard. He's, people gave him a nickname that I'm hoping doesn't stick with him. They called him Thick Ward.
Oh.
Because he looks like me, but he's shorter and like stockier.
I heard there was another one too. I heard like Knight Rider or something from Quincy Lattimore, who's another former Wild thing.
Yeah, that one didn't stick quite as much as Thick Ward, and they called me Skinny Briley to go with it. But
maybe we'll push for the Knight Rider one.
Yeah.
Or we'll try to help him out, maybe.
Yeah, I think without the Adelaide boys on the team, I think that that nickname probably won't resurface until Australia again. But he plays the game the right way. He plays the game really hard, and but he is an unbelievable human being. He's one of the nicest people I've met in baseball. And he's one of those guys that will go out of his way to make people feel involved. And he did something similar to what I did in when we were playing in New York against the Boulders, where I said hi to a special needs guy and just like made him feel happy that he was there. And he did the same exact thing when we were playing in Brisbane this year. He sought out some kid who had some special ability and just made him feel like he was part of it. And that is something that like I admire in him so much, that he's just an unbelievable human. The way he treats people is so great. He always has a smile on his face, and he makes you happy to be around him. So you guys are getting one of the good ones. I'll say that. So
just don't let Andrew Check know that Thick Ward should not stick.
Well, Check's going to do what Check's going to do. So you can don't give Check any narrative, because he's not going to follow it no matter what you want him to do.
This is a fair point. Anything, Nick, just to round out, anything you want to add to just say, like, give you the platform to talk to the people of Washington that are tuning in?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I can really say that I didn't really have a chance to say to the people of Washington is thank you. Thank you to you, Kyle, and you, Stephanie, for all you guys did for us as players. But, my 2+ years, I'll call it, in Washington, like without them, like I would not have fallen in love with baseball again. And I found myself as a baseball player again. And without my 2+ years in Washington and all the fans making me feel welcome and a big part of the community and getting to play every single day. And big thank you to Tom for trusting me every single day with that. And thank you to Tony and Stu and Franny and everyone that's involved in the Wild Things organization. And I can't forget Travis behind the scenes. He'll make a stink if I don't say his name. No, he won't. No, he won't. But to everyone involved with the Wild Things, it was really an honor to wear that uniform and be a part of your community. So thank you very much for allowing me to do that.
That's Nick Ward on Into the Wild, the official podcast of the Washington Wild Things. Once you make your big league debut, we'll have you on again.
Well, okay, that sounds good.
All righty, we'll be back with Tony Busili. We've got some news and notes for you in the next segment of the podcast. For now, we thank Nick Ward and we say stay tuned.
Become a bigger member of the Wild Things by joining our season ticket member family. With plans starting at $150, you can take your fandom to the next level. 13-game, 25-game, and full season plans are available, giving you the right to pick your games, reserve your seats, and be here for the biggest nights of the 2024 season. Call our front office at 866-456-WILD or head to WashingtonWildThings.com for more information.
Another big thanks to Nick Ward for joining us on Into the Wild here, the official podcast of the Washington Wild Things. Kyle Dawson rejoined by Tony Busili, president and general manager. Wanted to do a couple quick news and notes type thing, not on the super serious side, but things are starting to happen here in advance of the 2024 season. So we wanted to make a couple of notes. First off, Tony and I talk all the time during the season. Obviously, we're the resident baseball guys. 9 former Wild Things right now are in affiliated baseball. James Meeker with the Milwaukee Brewers, Nick Ward, who you just heard from with the Atlanta Braves organization, Spencer Bivens with San Francisco, Jake Pilarski for the Los Angeles Dodgers, John Murphy for the Cincinnati Reds, Turner Hill was the most recent one that was signed out of the Wild Things with San Francisco as well. Isaac Mattson in the Pirates organization, Ryan Hennon in the Baltimore organization, and Austin Kitchen, local product in the Colorado organization. There have been a couple that have been there in the past couple of years, namely Sean Keeley, who was with the Cardinals organization, and Joe Campagna with Colorado as well. Obviously, those are big guys that we like to follow. A couple of those guys, Tony, have appeared in big league spring training games in the last several days, and those are all pitchers right now. James Meeker's appeared twice. Spencer Bivens has appeared twice. Isaac Mattson pitched for the Pirates against Baltimore the other day. Those kinds of things are super fun for us to follow, and I think super fun for our fans and friends of the organization to follow.
Yeah, I mean, I always mention the biggest thing up front is I look back at what we did in 2020 and holding a 4-team little pod here. And just what that platform, even though we were unable to really play up to traditional standards of Frontier League or Wild Things baseball, traveling in and out, we brought, I mean, you probably outlined six of those 9 guys or so, or maybe 5 of them were guys who were here in 2020 during COVID that were playing and that were looking for a job. And we were able to allow them to make some money and also give them a platform to keep playing or to start their professional career. So it's really cool to kind of make that connection immediately back of those guys, of what 2020 was, how special it was, to kind of give them a nice launching pad. And then for, his bigger picture, looking at it, it's certainly really rewarding for all those guys coming from a whole different scope of background of where they came from. You have guys from small schools. You got guys like Isaac Mattson who came here from the big leagues back here to go right back up. It's very rewarding to know what we do and the relationships that we build and the relationships our players build with our fans, that these guys have the ability to get right back in the system. And it shows kind of the fine line between professional athletes in general. Once you go professional, everyone has the skill set. It's all about consistency. These guys have the ability to be Major League Baseball players. That's why they are playing professional baseball. It's just them being able to refine their consistency on a day-to-day basis, be able to throw at a velocity at a day-to-day basis, or just put consistent at-bats, series in, series out. So that's kind of the exciting thing about minor league baseball. And what we do is it's kind of a snap away from these guys. If a light switch comes on and they're able to kind of hone in all their skills, they can be knocking on the door of a 40-man roster relatively quickly.
Yeah, and speaking of a snap away, a couple of those guys in AAA last year. James Meeker finished the season in AAA. Spencer Bivens appeared in a couple games in AAA. I don't know that we'd count. It's been a while. I think 5 or 6 years now since Zach Grotz was the last Wild thing to make the major leagues. I don't know that we'd count Isaac Mattson just because he's already been to the big leagues, but a guy that came here and would return if the Pirates would need him at any point. But a couple of guys that are really a snap of the finger from making some history here, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, it's I mean, largely you can see a lot of them are pitchers beside Turner and Nick, and so it shows the demand, it shows the need, it shows. I mean, these guys, pitchers especially, develop at their own rate. So just because you're 23, 24 and you're not in the big leagues yet, is no longer kind of a kiss of death. You have guys 26, 27, 28 that find themselves, their arm develops, they mature a little bit more, and they become a little more consistent. I know conversations I had with Meeker's parents and the Brewers the same way, was, hey, if we could get this pitch a little more consistent, he's going to be in line to make the big leagues, which would be a really cool. I have always hinted on his story and his path and how he became a Wild thing and the time frame it took for him to get signed. I mean, those are the really cool stories that, looking back at that, the triumph, the overcoming, the prove it to yourself. Hopefully a handful of those guys make the big leagues here in the next 2 years or so. It'd be a nice addition to us. And obviously a great story for them and their family, that where they started and where they reached. Whenever you're able to do anything to help elevate somebody to reach their goal, hopefully they look back at their time here and that we put them on the path to be successful.
Let's jump broad a little bit. There will be another episode of the podcast before the promotional schedule comes out, but that's penciled in right now for March 18th. Single game tickets will go on sale on April 2nd for the 2024 seasons. I don't know if I'm really breaking any news there, but it's probably the first time we've said something publicly about either of those two things. So those are on the docket. We actually just recently announced the return of the Senior Slugger program. I don't know that many people in that program are tuned into this show, but that's a thing that's presented by AARP Pennsylvania and a thing that's coming back for its third year, and we've seen a ton of success with that program.
It's become a huge program. It went from a couple hundred, 600-700. Now we're about over 1,000 people every Wednesday enjoying that game, specifically in that 50-plus demo. We do a ton of advertising to the 50-plus age bracket to involve them, but certainly people following the podcast are involved with our social media. Grandparents, parents that are over the age of 50 that are looking for things to do. Put this in front of them. It's there to be effective. It's there to be utilized. It's a great opportunity to go out to a game with your grandpa or grandma or just your grandparents in general. Or if you're middle age and you have kids and you got parents in the 50s and 60s, and hey, it's nice. Hey, tell your mom and dad, hey, take the grandkids for a night, go out to a ball game. A simple example to enjoy a date night to kind of break things up. So definitely it's not what we're able to create here and the memories and the social experiences for that 50-plus demo, especially after COVID, getting them out to the ballpark, spending time together, making friends at the ballpark. It's really rewarding to kind of see that. The comments and the feedback we get is people on fixed incomes like that at an older age bracket looking to save money, people who are living off Social Security, for them to come out to a ballpark and still feel like they're social, still feel like they can enjoy America's pastime. It's a pretty cool thing to kind of see everybody get together. It's a different vibe at the ballpark, no doubt.
Before we close, any things we want to sneak or sneak peek, wink, wink, nudge, nudge for the promotional schedule? Or do we leave everybody in the dark and tell them tune in on March 18th?
I think we can, some of the key things that are normal, just so everybody knows what to expect coming back. I mean, fireworks will be here every Friday again. We do have a home game on the 4th of July, so we'll have 10 fireworks shows. I don't think it's breaking news that our giveaways will be every Saturday, but we're going to be returning those. Still finalizing how many bobbleheads that will be. So you can expect at least one to your collection to be added. All of our other clubs you can expect to be back. So Kids Eat Free, Senior Sluggers we already announced. Our Brew Crew will be announced here in the next couple weeks. So be aware on those things. Take advantage of them. They're there to be utilized. Grant, like I said, friends, neighbors, people you hang out with. You take advantage of what the ballpark's here for. It might not always be here. It might not be here for 50, 60 years down the road. So make the memories at the ballpark with your loved ones, with your friends while you can. We're here to be fun. We're more than willing to, anybody has ideas or promotions or fun stuff you want to kick around. Kyle's email, my email, we're there to take advice and feedback and think outside the box promotionally. So should be a lot of fun at the ballpark. Should be a full promo schedule again. We take pride in kind of having the most engaged, the most interactive sources of entertainment. So hopefully everybody can join us. The weather, knock on wood, will be great, and look forward to kind of the new things we're going to unveil this year at the ballpark. There'll be some unique things that you'll have to be here to see it, but we'll tease it leading up, no doubt.
That we will. That wraps another episode of Into the Wild. Be sure to leave a rating, review, and subscribe to the channels, or follow them, whatever word they're using now on the podcast platforms. Smash the bell for new episode notifications, and we'll catch you next time with a couple of special guests on Into the Wild.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.